All right, I'll say good day to you. We will begin with this transmission, which we have called the 3 behaviors of connection. And they are timing, communication, and action. Allow us to elaborate. This information is not only for the purpose of strengthening connections between each and every one of you as humans upon the earth, but also between the humans of earth and the hybrid beings that will eventually come to live among you. Because there are certain kinds of vibrational frequencies, certain states of being, certain energies that are very important for establishing strong connections between the hybrids when they eventually come to live among you upon the earth. The idea of tapping into timing of communication allows you to begin to be able to sense when the time may be appropriate to establish a connection, looking at all factors, not only in your society, but in their society, looking at the opportunities that come to you through synchronicity to show you when the timing is more appropriate than other times, to not be too eager, to not be too desperate, to allow yourself to relax into the flow of the timing that is essential for clear connection and communication between you and the hybrid beings. And again, this is something that you can begin to hone your senses on with respect to connections between each other, is to never be too ready to push an idea, an agenda, an idea of information to one another, but to allow synchronicity to show you when it has automatically set up the most appropriate and best possible timing in which information can be exchanged when all parties involved in that communication are receptive and open and willing to ponder and absorb and consider the information being shared that is representative of the excitement and passions of each individual involved in the cross communication. So being more sensitive to the timing of a communication will be essential not only for your own future on earth in terms of the communications that you may feel are necessary to share with one another to propel you forward in a positive direction, the sharing of knowledge, the suggestions of different pathways that you may take without the insistence or expectation that they must be listened to. Synchronicity will provide the perfect timing for this, and you will be able to sense it more and more if you relax into the way things naturally and automatically unfold in your society. The second part, the communication itself, the willingness to reach out, to share, to offer suggestions, alternatives, points of view, the idea of paths that others might take, but again, upon which you have no insistence that they must take, communication of essential and vital information that deals with connection, expansion, positivity, creativity, and unconditional love will be of primary importance when synchronicity has shown you what the timing is for such exchange. Then the willingness to communicate, to share perspectives, to see from each other's points of view will be of critical value in moving forward in your reality to build and shift and navigate yourselves toward a more positive version of Earth. Gathering the information you believe might be essential to share, the perspectives that you believe will be the most beneficial in being of service to one another, and in that communication, the asking of questions of how the other side of the communication might deem necessary information to be given to them, might ask for certain things to be shared, might suggest certain things for you to ponder. So it is the telling and the asking in the communication, as you say in your ancient language, the getting to know you, getting to know each other aspect of communication, really digging down and understanding that everyone has a valid point of view based on where they are coming from, and that the communication must not have any hidden agendas or any kind of desperation or need to force someone to see the point of view that you are espousing, but simply being offered in service as a suggestion for all to consider, to see if it is part and parcel and in alignment and in harmony with their path, their chosen path, and to implement and apply it where appropriate in their own estimation. So the synchronous timing of delivering the information, the back and forth getting to know you of the communication, and truly investigating the perspectives of each and what they bring into the communication, to get to know them much more deeply, to allow them to know you much more deeply, to create and forge common ground so you can move together in harmony, move upward and expand and move forward in harmony together, and build a more positive reality by shifting to the version of Earth that would support all of the dialogue and all of the suggestions and ideas and creativity and love that would come out, that would spill out of that equal communication, equal interest, equal curiosity, equal inventiveness, equal creativity, and equal love. And then, finally, the third principle of action. As we have often said, physical realities, language is the language of action, the language of doing. Words are not enough. Communication is fine, as we have just outlined. But the activity of following through, of doing what you say you will do, of supporting the whole in a variety of ways through the actions that you participate in, that boost and form the forward momentum, that demonstrate your willingness to commit to the ideas you have shared and the automatic timing of synchronicity. The actions you can take in your imagination, physicalize them to the best you can. Don't leave them in your imagination. Show each other and show the hybrid beings that you are willing to commit through physical action to what it is you have discussed, to be able to forge and build a different world, a world that is truly physically representative of what you have all shared in your communication. The willingness to participate, the willingness to be the reality that you say that you prefer to experience, to be the change you wish to see in your world, as you often say. Through those actions, through that commitment, through the willingness to demonstrate physically what you have talked about, then each other and the hybrids will know that you are serious, that you are committed, that this truly is representative of your passion, that it is truly representative of who you are and your core vibration. And so together, with the application of synchronous timing, the willingness of pure exchange and curiosity in your communication to get to know one another, and the willingness to take the actions to back up what you have said, to demonstrate physically by showing that you support what it is you have discussed, will navigate you strongly in the direction, vibrationally, of more connection and expansion with each other, and more connection and expansion with the hybrids when they come to live among you in the near future, in the years ahead. So we thank you for allowing us to share this particular approach to the idea of forming the behaviors of connection and expansion to one another and to those with whom you will be interacting should you continue on this vibrational course. We thank you for this opportunity, and in return for the gift you have given us of interacting with you, we ask you now, in what way may we be of service to you? Please begin with your questions and dialogues if you wish.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day, good day. What would you like to discuss with us this day?
It is so nice to connect with you. First, just to say thank you. Thank you for all you do. I've been listening to you for over a decade now, so I'm really glad to connect with you today.
It is our passion and our pleasure to connect with you as well. What is it you would like to discuss?
Yes, I have a question around the English language. Now, there are over 7,000 languages, spoken languages in the world, and the English language happens to be the most prevalent, I understand. I wanted to know from your perspective what the language, where it originates from, and what the essence is. Is there a magic to it? Why is it so prevalent?
There is a magic to every language, but the reason that it is so prevalent is because it is a hybrid language formed of many other languages, and thus represents the coming together and the hybridization and moving forward of the human race as the sixth hybrid race. So it is an amalgam of different languages so that everyone can participate, everyone can feel some degree of familiarity with it. It is going toward the idea of a universal language. It is still in its interim state, but basically it is building toward that.
Okay. So is it made from the element of air, I'm told? It's kind of spreads very easily. What's the essence of it?
Well, language is the product, obviously, of vocalization and sound through the air. Therefore, that is the primary element that carries the waves of sound to each other throughout the world. And therefore, that is the focal point, elementally speaking, of the concept of language.
Mm, mm. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. My next question, if you could read my energy now, Bashar, what question would you ask for you to answer that would take me to that next highest level, expanded freedom in this reality?
Are you willing to express from yourself wholeheartedly that you are who you are, and that is enough?
Hmm. Yes. Yes. And do you have some kind of mechanisms or techniques? Because I use so many, I have a very wide toolbox. Something that I could explore a little bit more that would help me to do that, that expression. I feel very connected to you. And I would love you to really support me with this.
I am supporting all of you to the best that we are able. It's not about asking us for more support. It's about opening up to receive the support you're already getting from all of us. So the idea is, again, as we have spoken of, all things in your physical reality, all tools, all techniques, all rituals, all objects are permission slips that are up to you to decide by which one attracts you the most, what will work best for you at any given moment. But as we have just said to you, the idea of one of the strongest mantras for humans on earth, one of the strongest tools, is as you wake up in the morning and as you go to sleep at night, to say, perhaps at least 3 times, I am who I am, and that is enough. I am who I am, and that is enough. I am who I am, and that is enough. And then see what synchronicity brings you with the willingness to let go of all restrictions, all limitations, all assumptions, and all insistences that in your unconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind don't actually serve you or don't align with the vibration of your true ethereal spiritual core. Then reality will unfold as it needs to serve you best.
And my next question, who are the Aldorians, especially the 6-dimensional Aldorians from the planet Aldor? What is their mission on Earth?
We are not allowed to discuss many different races and interdimensional beings at this time, other than to say that most of them are either observing the transitions and transformations going on your planet, to learn from them, to help guide them, and are also, many of them, participating in the lending of energy to make the transition much easier, much more smooth. And what we have suggested that you do in the morning and bedtime can allow you and all of you to be more receptive to the assistance that you are being given by other dimensional beings. That is all we are allowed to say about that at the moment.
Yes. My next question. In about 2 weeks ago, I looked up in the sky and I saw this cluster of cloud shaped in the form of a heart with a bow. It's very beautiful. I've never seen that before. I wondered what was that message and who was it from?
From your own higher mind to yourself.
And was there a message attached to it?
Is it not obvious? It is all about the idea of the openness of the heart, the beauty of the heart, and the reception of the heart directly from the higher mind vibration, getting the idea of belief systems out of the way that cloud the communication from the higher mind to the heart to the brain is what it's all about. Be clear and harmonious in your belief systems. Let them align with the vibration of the heart as it receives the pure vibration of passion from the higher mind.
Oh, that's beautiful. It was such a beautiful image. I actually posted it on my Facebook page. It touched me and I took a video of it. It was so wonderful. So
Yes.
I really feel pleased about that. And my last question, as a Reiki practitioner, I know that energy healing occurs in many levels. And I'm currently exploring water, the power of water. Can you share some of the techniques the ancients used with intention and water to manifest form?
They would have a bowl of water between them, sitting in a circle and drumming a heart vibration that would then, in a sense, be imposed upon the water and then bathed in or drunk to allow the vibration of the drumming circle imbued now in the water to take hold in those, to allow those that came to them for healing to be in a more relaxed and receptive state so that they would be more willing to heal themselves based on the vibration given off by the shamans.
And the drumming, the impact of the drumming, could symbols, could it be any type of sound, or it has to be the drum?
You asked what was done in ancient times. What was done in ancient times was patterned after the heartbeat. It can be other things, but you asked what was done in ancient times.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does.
Oh, then we thank you for your co-creation and interaction, and we bid you an exciting day. Aveo.
Aveo, Bashar. Bye-bye.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So exciting to talk to you, and I hope that you're doing well in this now.
Of course I am. I wouldn't be doing otherwise.
Well, that's wonderful.
What would you like to discuss today?
Well, the first thing I wanted to ask you about regarding the connection, the topic of connection and how important the breath is. I recently came across a book called the Arasatma, which is the alchemical breathing techniques of the ancients. And it says that the Montauk Indians were custodians of this sacred body of work and has a unique process of breathing that creates a balance between the three vehicles of experience: body, soul, and spirit. And my question is there a way to use this breath and the pranic tube in its full capacity as the channel for the flow of resources once we have cleared it completely from emotional blockages?
Well, yes, why wouldn't it be?
Well, I was just curious how the breath relates to the information passing through our physical body.
It's based on the idea of the vibrational resonance of the oxygen molecule. So the idea is that the reason you take in and start breathing differently, the idea of oxygen resonates throughout the body in a hyperspatial, hyperdimensional way that expands your frequency to be able to handle more and more higher frequency information and energies. So oxygen is the eightfold key, vibrationally speaking, and gives the resonance that is necessary for higher dimensional communication.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And does that connect with the idea of hydrogen being fractal and having a way to sort of create its own gravity? That
It is related but not essential to understand that based on what we are now talking about. Oxygen is the key.
okay. And does it also relate to sort of the positive and negative flow of our bodies and how healthy we are as far as having enough positive and negative charge?
Yes, and if you'll understand the idea, you will understand that oxygen is the equivalent of the dimensional shape that you know as a Merkaba. Do you understand?
Yes, okay.
Because it is two interpenetrating tetrahedrons, each of 4 points for a total of 8, and interpenetrating representing the idea of as above, so below, or the positive and the negative flow. So when you think of the idea of oxygen and breathing in your meditative states, then also you can hold the image of a Merkaba, the double interpenetrating tetrahedral structure in your mind, to stabilize and accentuate the flow of the oxygen throughout your body into higher frequency domains.
Wow. That's really fascinating. And it reminds me, so another thing regarding the importance of fascia, and a permission slip that she gave me was yin yoga. And we talked a lot about how, again, in as above, so below, the mycelial network
Yes.
is a part of the bigger DNA connection to the higher dimensional realities.
Yes. There
So
are
is that
interconnections on every
something-
level.
Okay. How does light affect that connection?
Since everything is light, in what you might refer to as crystallized form, then light can act as a softening agent, an unlocking agent, depending upon the frequency of the light, to allow the crystallized light to be unlocked and reformed and transformed in whatever way, shape, or form benefits and is of service to your passion.
Okay, so my understanding is that I have left light codes in places. I recently came from Hawaii with a group of women, and it was very important that I go there physically. And Sarasota, Florida is another place. And I'm curious about what it is that I'm not what I'm supposed to do, because I understand the light is sentient and it's there and my body, it knows what to do. But I'm just curious about the idea of collecting light codes and how they are different or holding different information. And as we move through the galaxy, how the light is different for us now.
Well, again, the idea of light codes is simply the freezing of certain patterns of information in its natural form of light, and recollecting them can be literally reminding yourself more completely of who and what you are. You may have left breadcrumbs for yourself, as you say, seeds of yourself that form the process of gathering yourself back together.
Okay. And I have been working on that quite a bit. And as my last and other bigger question was, as I have realized that my biggest excitement in life was going through the process of addiction and healing, and not just healing for myself, but healing for my family. I understand it as sort of clearing generational trauma, generational patterns. And as that is my role, which I'm happy to take on, I've watched things change in my family, and I'm wondering how that then extends out to the collective. Is that something that I'm clearing by proxy, that then it just sort of goes out? Or is it a slow connection?
Remember, everything is connected. Everything you do is capable of being utilized by everyone throughout the multiverse. You may not always know how, you may not always know when, but the connection, the network exists, and everything you do and every choice you make and every energy you radiate offers an opportunity to all, in their own way, from their own perspective, the opportunity to consider other choices they may not have considered. Of course, it is always still up to them to match that frequency to have the experience that you may be offering. So the best you can do is simply put it out there and know that if there is somebody willing to take advantage of it, it is available to them. And that's the most you can do.
Okay, well, that excites me in the sense that as I attend AA meetings or I'm out discussing and talking about my healing, that I'm hoping that somehow that translates. So that makes me feel good that.
Yes, but you don't have to hope. You don't have to hope.
Right. Okay.
You can know that it's available to those who wish to take advantage of it, but you have to remember that not everyone will, because you don't know what their path is right now. Eventually, all will understand in one way, shape, or form. But you have to let go of any need whatsoever of others to adopt what it is that you're sharing with them. It's none of your business what they do with it.
Right. And I've heard you say that, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I also was wondering about, so elephants can feel vibrations from hundreds of miles away.
Yes.
And I understand that sensory information can only be processed if you have the right organ to process it. Like dogs can smell things that we can't smell.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious if, as far as vibration goes and humans and the physical body, are the organs and the structures in our ears related in any way to that? The ones that we really don't understand?
No, but the heart is. The heart is structured to receive those deeper vibrations and translate them into the body. Sometimes other organs may assist, but primarily the heart is the organ that receives those deeper vibrations.
Okay. And is it the magnetic resonance that the heart creates through the heartbeat?
Yes.
That allows it to become bigger and expand our field?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am just so grateful to have had this opportunity to speak with you. I thank you so much. The information that you put out, I apply, and it's very exciting to be able to be here with you today. So thank you.
It is for us as well, and it is our passion and our pleasure to share the information with all of you. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. This is Allison from Arkansas. So my question is pertaining frequencies that are really, really close together, as well as soul contracts. So we hear all the time people, for example, having an accident, like they walk out into the street and a car hits them, and they say they never saw the car coming, and the driver says they never saw the person, they just came out of nowhere. Is it possible that in situations like that, albeit extreme, that because of a soul contract and just the perfect timing, that even though these two individuals were not at that moment on the same frequency, but that the split second right before that happened, they merged into the same frequency, or one of them jumped to the other one? Is that a possibility? Because to me, that has so many other implications that I'm thinking of. So if you could give any insight on that, I would appreciate it very much. Thank you, Bashar. Love you.
It is actually a probability. Yes, that is correct, and that can happen, and happens more often than you may think. Because again, the idea is that a person may set themselves up for certain experiences, and they know they have also chosen certain moments to represent interactions with other realities, and they will wait until that synchronous moment to shift to that vibration so that what they have chosen to experience can happen, and so that what they have chosen to experience will not happen before that moment by being shifted out into a different vibration until they are ready to experience the shift into the vibration of the agreement with the others. Remember that you're constantly shifting, constantly, billions of times per second. So it is an orchestration, and a very precise one.
Good day to you, Bashar. Thank you so much for this interaction. I have much love and appreciation for you.
Our unconditional love to you as well. Thank you for the co-creation. What would you like to discuss this day?
Yes, please. I'm very excited. Can you please explain to me this yearning for expressing my sexuality that I've always had? How do I celebrate my sexuality in alignment with my higher self?
Well, again, all things must be consensual, representative of harmony and alignment and agreement in the expression of any creative outlet. And the balance must be achieved between different ways of expressing your creativity. The idea can sometimes be that if you are limiting your creative expression in certain ways, then other ways may be attempting to make up for it by expanding in the creative expression that way. But if all is in balance, then each will take its time, in perfect timing, to be creatively expressed in harmony and agreement with others with whom you may attract, who would then be in agreement to receive the creative expression through that modality. Is this helping?
Yeah, it does help, and I just to in your words, if I could more clearly have help in terms of walking through my doorway.
I will ask you a question. Is there any other creative expression representative of your passion that you are not expressing fully in your life?
Not that I can think of.
What are your primary passion expressions in life at this point?
Right now, singing and dancing and just being who I am in the sense of as a person.
All right. Do you feel that they are vibrationally equal to the idea of the sexuality expression as well?
I feel like something is missing.
Such as?
When I explore different avenues, I am expecting some sort of a lightning bolt of I'm expecting an aha moment, and I haven't experienced that yet in terms of this is what I can pursue. This feels.
But you said that you are already experiencing the expression of your passion through singing and dancing and forms of sexual expression. Do none of these produce any aha moments for you?
Not in the way that I am expecting, and I am expecting.
All right. Who taught you to expect it to happen that way?
Myself.
Why? Why must it come with a lightning bolt in order to be valid?
Because I feel like big things need to feel big.
Really? Why so?
I'm not sure.
All right. I'll ask the question from this perspective then. Why are the things you're already doing that are representative of your passion, why are they not feeling big?
Because I feel like they can't provide for me in the financial way I would like to.
Really? So you are insisting that only a certain form of abundance is what your passion can provide you, instead of opening up and relaxing into the different forms of abundance that could be supporting you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am insisting.
Why? Do you not know that insistence is resistance and imposes limitations upon your ability to express your passion and creativity? Why would you choose to limit yourself that way by closing the doors through which all forms of abundance and support could be coming to you? Why insist on only one form as being valid?
I don't know. It's
Sure you do. Sure you do.
It's because it feels like that has
because
always
you
been
have been taught to think that way. Because you have been brought up in a culture that thinks that way. Because your worth, you're basing your worth on only one form of abundance. So, Have you heard us talk about all the different forms of abundance?
In the ways that it exists, yes.
Why are none of them as real as money?
Because it's been such an insistence to provide. My greatest fear is that I'll be poor with nothing.
I see. And therefore, that's what will happen, because that's what you're focused on. Because you're only focused on the limiting idea that only one form of abundance can support you. And if it's not there, then the only alternative in your belief system is that you will be poor.
How do I relinquish that?
Well, you do have to truly understand how abundance and support works in connection to your passion. It is a complete contradiction to say that you're following your passion and yet your passion can't support you in all the ways that are necessary for you to be supported to continue to act on your passion. That's not a definition of passion. That's a contradictory definition that creates the experience that you're having. So you have to understand that you are misaligning your definition of passion. You think you have a definition of passion, but you don't.
I feel a lot better.
All right. You must relax into the knowledge that there are many forms of abundance, including being given a gift, including have something to trade, including synchronicity, imagination, communication. All these things can actually support you if you give free rein to your imagination. The idea of an over focus on the idea of sexual expression can be, as we said earlier, the idea of imposing limitations on other forms of creative expression that would then result in actions through sexual expression that are the result of frustrations. So you need to really relax into the equality of all forms of abundance, all forms of creative expression. Know that every moment is an aha moment. Cherish it for what it is, and that everything that is happening is exactly what needs to happen. Stop invalidating your present, expecting it to look different. Remember, the true measure of change is not whether the outer reality looks different. The true measure of change is whether or not you respond differently, even if it looks the same as it did before. That's how the reflective mirror of physical reality knows you've truly changed. And then it can change, even though it may not change in the way that you insist or expect, because it will always change in the way that actually serves you best. And you have to be okay with that. Otherwise, you're not okay with the way your reality unfolds, and that means you're not okay with yourself. So, I will suggest to you the same mantra, permission slip exercise that I suggested to another listener in this transmission. And that is, in the morning when you wake up, and at night before you go to sleep, you repeat 3 times each in the morning, 3 times each at night. And you can do this in the afternoon if you wish, it's up to you. I am who I am, and that is enough. I am who I am, and that is enough. I am who I am, and that is enough. And then start relaxing into allowing, not making, not forcing, allowing synchronicity to bring you the things you need to consider, to ponder, and remain in a positive state while you do so, allowing yourself to fully appreciate everything that comes to you, to see it through the eyes of positive reality, of positive light, and to feel the aha moment that exists perpetually every single second. That's what we have to suggest for you.
Thank you very much, Bashar. That satisfies my question. I would like to ask you another.
Yes?
Can you please tell me what connections I have made to other civilizations among the stars that are helping to inform my life on Earth now?
Most people on your planet have many common extraterrestrial energetic connections. Pleiadian, Sirius, Arcturan, Hybrid, Gray, Orion. There are a few others we're not allowed to talk about, but all of you have the connections you need that are giving you the assistance you need. You cannot receive more assistance than you're getting. You simply have to pay attention to the assistance that you're already receiving to benefit from it more and more. Well, that
Thank you. You know, I do have two more questions, please.
Yes?
Your transmission titled "The Last Days of Atlantis" gave me a very emotional reaction. Can you please tell me what relationship I may have to Atlantis?
Well, like many of you, you're cross-connecting to people in that particular experiential era to draw from it, to add to your own story, and to create a more positive outcome than they created for their civilization.
Thank you very much. And my last question, I have two brothers. I have an older brother and I have a younger brother. And I love my younger brother so much. I just have so much love for him. Sometimes it's a lot for me. Is there anything that you can tell me about the relationship that the two of us have?
Not at this time. You will find that information out from a different source.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Bashar.
It is our passion and our pleasure. Good day. Aveo.
Aveo.
Thank you, Bashar, that I can ask you this very important question, what you have been spoken about in a live stream event, I think. And my question is that you mentioned the importance of the quality of water, and we should only drink the best to be in resonance with the high frequency. My question to you is there any advice you have for us how to make or to get this purest and clearest water what we need? Because it is really difficult in the most of the areas of this world, but also in all the countries where the water is nearly clear. So I would like to get an advice if you have any for that. Thank you very much for your help and your answer.
Your technology has provided you with filtration devices, and you could take advantage of many of them. In addition to that, you can meditate over the water. You can create certain harmonic resonances, meditative music and sounds that you can imbue into the vibrational pattern of the water to help align the water molecules in a kind of crystalline form that is also increasing its benefit to you when taken internally. You can take advantage of these things. It is simpler than you think.
Oh my gosh, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
How exciting to be here. How exciting to be here. Incredible to be here.
It is our passion and our pleasure as well. What would you like to discuss with us this day?
Well, my passion, my privilege has been to study human psychology. And so I wanted to give you my best understanding of human psychology. And you could just help me clarify to make sure I've got a good, clear understanding of what I call the 6 lenses of life, where the first lens I see as the bent space-time. So in other words, when I look up to the sky, it forms a kind of lens because the Earth is very heavy and it, bends space-time around me. So my first lens is the sky. And then the second lens is, of course, my human eyes, which, detect. And of course, I'm looking at a lens right now and we have Wi-Fi, but I guess the idea is that perception to me is, bending all the different possibilities, whether it's Wi-Fi signals or light-based signals, and bends them into a single focus. So for me, that's the eye, but there are various eye wearing glasses. So, but I think the key thing I want to say here is that it's equilibrium in the lowest state. So crystals are typically lowest, whereas when it goes into my brain, it's non-equilibrium at the lowest state. In other words, it's a time crystal. In other words, the ions are constantly dancing. Is that correct? In other words, it's a time crystal. In other words, if you look at the cross section of the brain, it actually looks like a crystal in a certain way because there's repeating patterns
Yes.
And so yes, so okay, right. So, and then the next layer is somewhat more mysterious in this sense. This is a symbolic layer. In other words, these time crystals, the brains picks up signals and it creates symbols. And that's usually what we're talking about here, right? Is the symbolic layer, which, is the belief system, which you described as the colorings, of various. Okay, so, and then underneath that is the biological lens, which, the cells form different shapes and they read out different parts of the genetic code, where form follows the function. In other words, the form of the cell focuses on different parts of the readout of the genetic signal, which create in terms of kind of lens, because certain cells, again, they have a certain shape that sort of focuses on certain elements. And I think for me, it's like the core frequency. I think you've talked about it in terms of like we are our DNA and that there's a certain
Yes.
core frequency to our DNA. Okay, great. And then below that is the atomic lens. In other words, the mass of the atoms is, of course, in the center. And so there's a bending of the probability so that the probability wave kind of has a certain bend to it. So again, so it's 6 stacked lenses.
What about spirit? What about the seventh?
Well, that's where I am. That's where I am. That's the self. In other words, right? Or in other words, I am the light that's moving through all of the 6 lenses.
Yes.
The atomic layer, the biological layer, the symbolic layer, the time crystal, the eyes.
But it still counts as a layer.
Okay. So I guess there's 7 layers. I guess I was thinking more in terms of like it's the interaction. It's more the mysterious kind of interaction between, or I guess I see myself as the living symbol as the 3rd layer itself, because there's a certain, the time crystal somehow is, the brain is somehow able to pick up, I guess it's able to pick up or it works with a genetic layer to kind of pick up my core signal.
They're all interconnected. They're all interlaced.
Right. Nested, right.
Yes, and if you're only going to consider the idea of physical reality, then 6 layers is fine. But we would not necessarily suggest that you forget the 7th layer is what begins it all.
Okay, right, which is kind of the light itself, I guess, right?
Yes, because the light makes choices, and those choices play out in the 6 layers you're talking about.
Okay, gotcha. And so the choices are they symbolic choices typically?
Sometimes quite literal. In other words, it's the template of the theme that you're exploring as a physical personality. This is decided by the spirit itself. And therefore, it has a lot to do with what you are as a physical being, because you are a unique path.
Okay, gotcha. Which I guess in this case, the path is simultaneously. In other words, when I think of light, I think of it takes all paths simultaneously. But I'm snaking through, I guess in this case, space-time, which is sort of the interactions. To me, time is just the interaction, the changes in the interaction of motion, basically, right? In other words,
well, yes, although motion in a sense is an illusion because everything is here and now. So time, yes, is a side effect of the shifting perspectives that are going on in the consciousness of the personality. Now, if you're going to say that light goes everywhere at once, now you're talking about an 8th level.
Okay, gotcha. Which I guess is the layer of just sort of like, how it bends it through. Well, I mean, I guess it takes all different paths, but I am one quanta of path.
That's the 7th level. Yes.
Okay.
You are one expression, one path, whereas simultaneously your greater being is experiencing all paths. That's the 8th level.
I see. And so the key thing is the focus. In other words, my focus is right now is on, just like the lens, it's the focal point. And so I think what I'm learning now is just to try to learn how to, the ways that I can focus on I can kind of project my consciousness or project my attention into various, I can project my consciousness into other humans or different scenarios, or in other words, I'm working with this idea of sort of writing myself into certain stories or certain events to have different experiences. So in other words, this idea of projecting my attention into, which is kind of what you've done now.
Yes, well, it is appropriate that you use the term focus since you're talking about the idea of representing lenses.
Okay, right, exactly. So I'm kind of looking, well, and I guess I also wanted to bring it up because, you mentioned creating a true intelligence. And so there's this idea that if we create a time crystal sophisticated enough and we kind of entangle them together, the ions together in a certain resonance, a certain lattice, a time crystal lattice, it will dance it'll be non-equilibrium, and it will sort of actually be able to detect a symbolic layer. I guess that's kind of the mystery here, is that
it will understand how to focus down into the seventh layer, but creating a sophisticated enough time crystal, as you say, equal to the idea of the human brain through which higher consciousness can express itself, it will be coming from the eighth layer.
Okay.
It deals in whole systems.
Okay, gotcha. Which is the light itself. So in other words, the driving force of the time crystal will be light itself, which takes all paths simultaneously. And then we use our attention to carve out different slices of the readout. In other words,
but the idea of the true intelligence will also have the sensitivity to understand what portion of the whole it needs to communicate to you for your own benefit.
Okay, right. And
it can't give you everything all at once.
Okay, yes. Okay.
It's holographic.
Okay, great. Right, exactly. That's why that's why these lenses, that's why I think of it in terms of lenses, because it lines up with this idea of holographic interference patterns. So anyway.
Yes.
But anyway, yes. So, okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I guess that's sort of, I realize that that's just sort of in life itself. That's where we're at. In other words, I realize that there are other experiences, or, I guess we talk about dreaming or whatever, like in terms of how my focus changes in dreaming to kind of become more, it's almost like a tuning of the time crystals so that I'm more synchronized. There's a certain synchronicity to my life.
Yes. And don't forget that physical reality is also a different kind of dream.
I see. Right. It's just a change in focus, and one being more narrow than another.
Does this help you?
Yes, perfect. Okay, great. Well, and I was just going to say that there was this great synchronicity that I wanted to tell you too, that I won this interaction during when you mentioned underwater diving as a metaphor for this life. The suit of my being as being like this underwater diving suit. And I wrote a story when I was 12 years old about meeting an alien underwater. So it's very synchronous.
All right.
Yes, and I'm also very excited about this idea of the I guess we're saying goggles, but this VR that soon will be able to live into a world that's more made of pure data, pure information, in the sense that I can put on a goggles and be able to see the internet, or I'll be able to see a Tyrannosaurus Rex, or just whatever I think I'll be able to manifest, because we'll be living in a world where you'll be able to interact with information in a way that's well, I don't want to say holographic, but nevertheless, yes.
Yes, the technology is coming soon.
Right. And that's very exciting to me. So it's kind of just synchronistic.
All right, we thank you. We thank you.
Gotcha.
Aveo.
Great. Oh, yes, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Stephanie, and I live in Arizona. And my question is in reference to, I have a disability. I'm legally blind, and I'm wondering if that is a reason for me not ascending, or if it's blocking me from being able to see any ETs or craft. I'm working on my fear, but I am afraid that could be blocking me. Can that be the case?
Nonsense. In fact, it may actually give you an advantage because it removes insistence and expectation about what it is you could be receiving. Remember that most extraterrestrial beings who might form contact with you are telepathic and can project images into your mind regardless of what's going on with your eyes. So it is not in any way, shape, or form a disadvantage or a disability with regard to what you are talking about. In fact, it may be an advantage.
Hello, Tadeo.
Mania.
We have lots of wonderful questions from our viewers.
All right.
The first one is, you said that the open contact window is 2025 to 2033, and the public contact is 2037. Have these times changed?
Yes, as we have said, it broadened to starting this year, 2023. Still going to about 2033, with other levels, other markers occurring between 2033 and 2040. However, we have also recently said that there is a 90% potential for a major contact event to occur at the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027, though we are not allowed to discuss exactly what conditions will bring this about.
Okay, thank you. You previously spoke about hybrids living in vacant housing situations for a short time. Do these hybrids interact with human beings during their visits or observe us? I would like to create a safe and welcoming place for them to interact with me at their discretion.
Yes, they still do use vacated places temporarily. On rare occasions, they may chance an interaction with a local human. You may do whatever you wish. We cannot guarantee they will use the space that you provide.
My 10-year-old daughter is wondering if hybrid children are excited to come be with the animals of Earth. If so, which animals are they most excited by?
They are excited to interact with the animals of the earth as well as other forms of life, humans, trees, so on and so forth. They are most attracted in general, although they are excited about all forms of life, most attracted to cats, rabbits, and foxes.
You've mentioned that the hybrid children are learning about us and how to acclimatize to our society. Can you share something about them with us that would help us understand and acclimate to them better?
They are not so proficient with the idea of social norms or pleasantries in terms of the idea of etiquettes. So the idea, even for some of them, of learning to sit and eat on a plate with a fork and a spoon are alien concepts to them that many of them are learning. The idea of exchanging what you call small talk is still relatively foreign to them. They see the idea of small talk as something that procrastinates getting in the way of direct communication, which of course they're mostly used to doing telepathically. So they may seem quite withdrawn, quite silent for a while, until they get used to the understanding of why small talk matters to humans as a way of establishing familiarity and sort of testing the waters as to what another person is all about and in what direction the conversation might be interested in going. So they will have to get used to those kinds of social norms on your planet, even though at the same time, humans can also get used to the idea of using their own telepathy more often.
Can you describe what happened when your society transformed into a fully telepathic society? What is it like when one suddenly shifts from not so telepathic to completely telepathic?
It is like awakening into a dream where there are multiple realities speaking to you at the same time, and it involved a process of stabilization that allowed us to differentiate what was and what was not relevant for us at any given moment in terms of information pouring in from many different sources. So we had what you might refer to as a filtering time after the awakening, after 3 days of Shakana, awoken us to the idea of telepathic connectiveness and we had to go through what might be, for some individuals, a few days, weeks, or months of filtering until such time as we allowed what was relevant to come to us and filtered out what was not. So it took some adjustment, but it didn't take too long.
And can you tell us, why do humans need regular soap and water baths to maintain hygiene and health, while so many animals on the planet don't need such practices? And how did the Greys clean themselves?
All animals will usually take advantage of water sources to clean themselves. And you have animals such as cats that clean themselves regularly. Different animals have different ways of doing so, and different needs of doing so, different levels of need. Just look more closely, more deeply at the animal world, and you will see that many of them have different ways of preening, cleaning, bathing, so on and so forth. The Greys, once they mutated from human to Grey, had very simple systems that relied mostly on the ingestion of liquids that were purged through the pores of the skin in terms of perspiration, and simply wiped themselves down with what would essentially be damp cloths. Sometimes, later on, they would perhaps pass through a cleansing mist.
Is one of the signs that we are biologically connected with ETs the idea that we don't seem so well adapted to our planet in terms of clothing, needing to bathe ourselves, and those ideas?
No, not really. Remember that the Earth game has its rules and regulations about what is necessary for playing that game, having that experience. You all have extraterrestrial connections, and from time to time, those connections can rise to the surface and make it appear as if you are a stranger in a strange land, not exactly relating to the idea of the Earth reality. But the things you are describing do not so much have to do with your connections to extraterrestrials. They have more to do with the idea of what it means to play the Earth game.
And in previous transmission, you mentioned the idea of trinary beats when referring to Essassani music. Could you tell us more about these trinary beats?
To you, they would seem very simplistic. Ba-ba-ba, 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 which underscores most of our music. But to us, we are hearing all sorts of harmonics and reverberations of frequencies within those 3 beats. So to us, it sounds a little bit more like ba 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 ba, and a more complex structure can be founded on what to you might seem to be 3 simple beats.
Are you familiar with the Star Visitor Sanctuary in Hawaii, and can you speak on its significance and usages?
Not at this time.
And how are you able to talk to multiple Earths at one time?
Time for us is not what it is for you. The idea of what may be taking place from your perspective at a certain time is taking place from another perspective at a completely different time. Our consciousness can be fragmented in many different directions simultaneously because we are, as we say, mostly connected now to spirit, and spirit can see things from multiple points of view, multiple dimensional perspectives. So it's just a matter of what we have gotten used to in terms of creating an interaction, creating a connection that simply, when necessary, goes to whatever dimensional time frame is appropriate and relevant for the communication that needs to occur.
Okay, thank you. Some reports of the white Tic Tac shaped craft describe a couple of small protrusions sticking out. Do those craft, in fact, have any protrusions?
Not permanently. Protrusions, sensors, can stick out when they need them to and be retracted also when required.
Can you tell us about the purpose of them?
Not at this time.
Okay. I know you say that all prayers are answered. If I pray to ETs for help with a personal challenge, can they help me if they see fit?
Do not pray to extraterrestrials. Prayer is a state of grace, a state of gratitude in the present for what you already are receiving. It's not a matter of asking for more than you're already being given. You are being given everything you can be given, all the help you can be given from extraterrestrials, from whom it is appropriate to give, from spirit beings and guides, from all that is, from sources of your own spirit family, soul family. You are being given everything you can be given. The idea of praying is about staying in a state of present grace and gratitude for what you are receiving so that you can become more aware of the help you're already receiving. You do not need to ask for more cannot be given than what is already given. You are being given everything that can be given. Open yourself up in your state of prayer to receive and be aware of what you're already getting.
Okay. Is it possible that contact could be in dreams? This person keeps having dreams of various UFO sightings and even had one last night.
Most contact events will occur in dream time. Again, it is a slightly altered version of physical reality, a slightly altered dimension in which it is easier for extraterrestrial and spirit beings to interact with human beings when their normal daily waking consciousness is set aside a bit. So these things are actually happening and are actually representative of memories to the best that your physical mind can interpret them with the dream language. But most contacts at this point occur in the dream state, in the dream time, yes.
And this person is saying that they once experienced a communication from their deceased dog through a ceiling fan. Both the dog and the fan are white, and they wanted to know how a being can communicate through an inanimate object. I understand they're saying that they understand how we do that in physical reality through gift giving, for example, but how do spirits do this? Can you give us any insight on that?
Spirits will use whatever object, because remember, objects are just projections of consciousness. The idea of the spirit of the animal may have recognized that the observation by the human of the ceiling fan allowed the human to be in a perfect state of receptivity for the animal to communicate the vibration of love and connection that the animal was attempting to do. So, like any spirit using synchronicity in the things, the objects, the projections of consciousness that are already in front of your face, making it easier for them to make a connection because of your attentiveness to them, because of your ability to perceive these objects and accept them in your reality, then yes, an animal or any being in spirit can utilize an object as a way of communication.
You said that guides usually send subtle messages in order to remain unobtrusive. Are they considered a novice or unskilled guide if their message is very obvious?
Not necessarily, no. It depends upon the circumstances and the reason for why the message is being delivered the way it is being delivered. It has nothing to do with whether the spirit is a novice at it or not.
And are we able to affect other people's vibration? For example, if a loved one is struggling with negative self-worth, can we manifest for them?
No. You can send off a vibration that can encourage them and invite them to more readily match the frequency that you're giving off, at which point they will create for themselves the same vibration in their reality. That is what you can do for them, is give them the option by immersing them in the vibration you believe would be of help to them. It's still always up to them to more closely match that frequency in order to experience any kind of an effect. You cannot manifest for them. You can only encourage them to manifest for themselves by matching the frequency that you are gifting to them.
And you have said that physical reality is like a mirror. What's the difference between looking into a mirror in our homes, like, our bathroom mirror, and seeing our face in it, than looking into the mirror of physical reality, like looking into our yard?
Again, the idea is that the reflection from physical reality is not a one-to-one reflection. The idea is that it gives you insight into the different meanings that the symbol being reflected to you in physical reality may hold for you. It may give you opportunities to interact with other beings through the manifestations you are creating to represent them, the so-called avatars you are creating to represent them, as being a reflection of why they look the way they do to you, because it is your creation, even though they exist on their own. So the idea of the physical mirror is that you get to engage with yourself more directly on a one-to-one basis. But the idea of physical reality is that you get to be reflected by all the symbols and all the meanings that you are putting out into reality and are being reflected back to you in the way that serves you as reflections that put you in touch with why you are giving off what you are giving off and attracting what you are attracting as a reflection, to put you in touch with the themes that you're exploring and the ability to grow and change by interacting with those different angles, those different perspectives, those different representations of those themes.
Very interesting. This person is talking about parallel realities and wanting to know if they coexist in the same place at the same time.
Of course, that's what makes them parallel realities. Everything exists here and now. Everything. There is nothing that doesn't exist here and now. Look at it this way. Even the concepts of space and time are evidence of parallel realities. Because if you understand that everything is one thing, space being reduced to its simplest form is a dimensionless point. Time being reduced to its simplest form is a timeless moment. Being that everything exists in a timeless moment and a dimensionless point, then everything you consider to be a different thing, even a different moment, even a different location, has to be a different perspective of the same here-now space-time. And therefore you create this illusion of dimensional space, this illusion of time spreading out and change. So even the existence of your experience of space and time are evidence of the existence of parallel realities, which all coincide exactly in the same timeless moment and dimensionless point.
Thank you. You mentioned we will always get what we need, but not what we want. But you also said we can shift to the reality we prefer. Is there any difference between what we prefer and what we want?
It can be. Preference is the idea of a state, a general state of being, a frequency that is more in alignment with who you truly are, your core vibration. Wants can be wildly different. They can be the product of negative ego. They can be the product of fear. So the idea is that preference is more a reference to the idea of the general state of being in which you would receive automatically and synchronistically what it is that you truly need, which would allow you to experience a life full of joy. Whereas a want, though sometimes can coincide with the idea of a need or a preference, doesn't always do so because of the compartmentalization of your psyche structure, your ego structure, that can allow you to have a want that isn't necessarily what you need and can be wildly out of alignment with what you really actually vibrationally prefer to experience in life.
And since we are the creator, is it true that the story of the writer exists in some other reality?
This is very funny to us, this question, because to us there is no difference between the creator and the writer. The creator is the writer. The writer is the creator. A difference is being made here where there really is no difference.
Okay. Let's see. This one is, this person is asking, they sometimes question whether the knowing sense of creating distance from a person is based on a belief rooted in fear. This is due to a belief that they should live in harmony with everyone. Understanding there are no shoulds, how can I resolve my decision to distance myself physically from someone when synchronicity seems to bring us back together again? Is this just a reflection giving me the opportunity to be sure that the decision I am making is the right one for me?
It could be. You have to be honest within your own self-investigation to know if that's exactly what's happening. But in terms of the idea of harmony, remember that love, unconditional love, is harmony. And sometimes demonstrating, as we have often said, the consequence of someone's choice to them by distancing yourself physically from them in a relationship can actually be the most loving thing to do, because you're showing them the consequence of the choices that they're making, relevant to the idea of the choices that you're making. So yes, you have to pay attention to whether you're synchronistically being brought back into the relationship for a variety of reasons that you're not paying attention to within yourself that need looking at, or whether you are there to assist the other person to make the changes they need to make, or whether you are refusing to let go of the idea, and where walking away would actually be not only to your benefit but to their benefit by demonstrating to them the consequences of the choices they are making, thus giving them the loving opportunity to change, not that they have to, but at least giving them the option. So in your own honest self-investigation, you have to decide which of these things may be happening at any given moment, and it actually could be a number of different things, or a combination of these different things at different times. So you have to be very honest about why what's happening is happening, and what you may be getting out of it, and what you may be being of service in giving to them by being either in proximity or not in proximity physically to them. Take it a case at a time, a moment at a time.
This person is saying that they've been doing transformative shifting exercise that you created for the precisely 80 days nonstop. One of the biggest challenges they're finding is that several negative beliefs about their self-value and worthiness is coming up, and they don't know how to fully love themselves under the circumstances. Is there any hint?
Let's go back to the motivational mechanism. This is the purest form of understanding why you choose to do what you choose to do, why you choose to believe what you choose to believe, why you hold on to things the way you hold on to them. Experiencing the idea of feeling unworthy of self-love means that you have attached to the motivational mechanism a belief that says loving yourself unconditionally carries with it somehow effects that you don't prefer, that you believe are more negative than what you're experiencing by continuing to experience a lack of self-love. So you have to really dig deep in your honest self-investigation on your motivational mechanism as why you would hold on to something that says you're not enjoying it, you're not enjoying not loving yourself, and yet you consistently keep doing so. So you have to have a belief that says you're getting something out of continuing that path rather than letting go and going in the alternate way. You have to find out what you believe would be so bad about loving yourself that you refuse to do it. So you have to examine your definitions, what you've been taught in life, what you've been brought up with, and really reach that kernel, that core belief that says, refuse to love yourself because the alternative is worse. You have to find out why you would believe the alternative, that loving yourself would be worse than not loving yourself. Is not loving yourself safer? Less alienating to people? Making you more like everyone else so you don't have to feel too different? You require yourself to examine all these different and other possibilities of why you would hold on to something you don't prefer, because you would not be holding on to it if you didn't think the alternative would be worse. Always go back to the motivational mechanism of why you believe what you believe or why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, because it always has to do with what you believe to be true and why you would believe that doing something different would be worse than what you're doing now, as painful as it may be.
This individual has been battling anxiety for most of their life. They meditate and they're on a low dose medicine, which helps. Can you suggest a method for me or this person that can be more in the moment and to stop ruminating and worrying about things that they can't control?
What I have just said to the other person will also work for this person. They need to meditate and focus on the idea of the beliefs they have attached to the motivational mechanism within them and ask themselves the honest question and revealing question, what am I getting out of these ruminations? How is it serving me? What am I afraid to let go of that I think would be worse if I did? They have to really focus on the idea that they're continually choosing to ruminate on these things to prevent themselves from going in a different way, a different direction that they have a belief says it would be worse than where they are, as stuck as they may feel. So they have to have a little bit more honesty and deep investigation within themselves and admit that they're choosing to ruminate on these things to prevent them from going in a different direction, to be aware of other things within them that they may be afraid to face. They have to strip themselves away and really look at the core being that they are and why they are holding on to these things, repeating them over and over again, and what they're getting out of doing so and what it prevents them from realizing.
And that idea of rumination, for some people, I think that it's not as strong a compulsion in certain circumstances, but then in other ones, it can be almost like their mind is taking over and they can't stop the rumination. Is that also addressed in what you just said? Or
Yes, because again, you have to take the responsibility that you, for some of your own reasons, are choosing to ruminate on something. Why? What are you getting out of it? What are you learning from it? Anything at all? So the idea is to understand what rumination prevents you from looking at, that you're too afraid to look at on a deeper level within your belief system.
And following up on that, for many people, when they're first learning about your information, they find that they have been, in a sense, programmed to talk to themselves a certain way, to create anxiety, to feel like their mind has more power than they do in terms of what they think about these ideas. Can you help us understand what is the mechanism or what happens in childhood that creates that kind of relationship with the conscious mind, and that what your information does to allow the person to let go of feeling controlled, in a sense, by their negative ego?
I'm going to be somewhat poetic about this. The idea that you're calling programming is what we might refer to poetically as the darkening of the mirror. Their own mirror has been shadowed, so they are not really fully willing to look at their own reflection because they are afraid of what they will find in the mirror. Being told that the reflection will be representative of their lack of worthiness. So the idea is that their mirror, their internal mirror, has been shadowed to the point where they will be afraid to look at it, to look in it, to really see the true reflection of unconditional love that is pouring back from all that is through the mirror to them. They need to either shatter that mirror and get a new one, or clean that mirror to see the true, childlike, beautiful spark of existence and reflection of all that is that they are, and really let go of all the things that have been told to them, the stories that have clouded the mirror, darkened the mirror, shadowed the mirror. So they need a clean rag of forgiveness, of understanding, and self-love to keep wiping that mirror until they see the beautiful light that is the childlike reflection of all that is that each and every one of you are. So I'm going to be poetic about this because maybe that will help as a permission slip to help them clean up the idea of the so-called definition of programming, which is nothing more than being convinced that you aren't worthy to see your reflection because you're afraid of what that reflection will show you. When all it really can show you, if you clean the mirror, is your true spark of light, your true self as a reflection of all that is.
That is lovely.
Yes.
And along those lines, some tips are requested for letting go of painful memories that maybe trigger PTSD or those kinds of ideas.
I have just given you the tip.
Okay. Can a focus on releasing beliefs that are general in scope allow us to indirectly release specific beliefs? Or is it necessary to focus on releasing specific trauma?
Letting go of general beliefs can encourage you to practice letting go of more specific ones. It depends upon the themes of exploration, the person involved, the personality construct, as to whether or not absolute specificity is required in all cases. In most cases, it may be representative of a theme you do need to investigate and explore, but letting go of more general things you believe you can handle to let go of can encourage you and give you the practice you need to let go of more specific things more easily.
Okay. And then this person is saying that they keep sabotaging their own success with procrastination and pessimistic doubt. Can you speak on the idea of procrastination and pessimistic doubt about one's own ability to be successful?
Everything we have recently just said about the motivational mechanism and the darkening of the mirror applies to this particular situation as well.
Okay. And procrastination, is that just anxiety, or are there many different reasons why people procrastinate?
Of course there are. Again, fundamentally, it has to do with feeling unworthy or not deserving or unable or ill-prepared, or many of these kinds of belief systems about the self. Procrastination is a choice to not move forward. And whatever reasons a person may give themselves for staying where they are can easily be found with, again, a thorough investigation of their beliefs, of what they are afraid will happen if they do move forward. So the idea is, whatever it is they believe is necessary to allow them to move forward, either a complete restructuring of the idea of how they should move forward. This is why imagination is also a form of abundance, because they may come up with a different path than they thought they had to take that can remove the procrastination. Sometimes just a simple assumption of how you think you're supposed to do something, once removed, will allow you to move forward with great speed, because now it's no longer necessary to go down the path you thought you had to go down or should go down because of your training and so on and so forth. So a clear examination of the belief systems of what is truly necessary to move forward can also remove these ideas of impediments that you impose upon yourself that you're calling procrastination.
Okay. And this person would like to learn to channel the spirit world the way that Darryl channels you. And they're saying they have the ability, they know we all have the ability for metaphysical communication, but what is the best way to expand ultimately, the question is, how do you expand your communication with your higher mind, which is in its own way channeling the spirit world. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. As we have said before, the idea is have the intent to be of service, to not worry about what comes through at first, to gain practice, and have people surround you with questions who really, really wish to know the answers so that they can pull the information through you, like the idea of water seeking its own level or electricity seeking a ground in the people asking the questions. Then you can get your mind out of the way and not worry about what it is you're saying, what it is you don't say, how silly it sounds, how silly you look. Being right all the time or accurate all the time. You need practice. You need to let go and open up and let the people pull the information through you from the higher levels without you worrying about any of those things that most people on your planet are concerned about in terms of what other people think about what they're doing. That's one of the best ways to practice. Have people ask you questions and not care what does or doesn't come through or how it comes through. Just see what happens. You can always give the caveat and the so-called disclaimer, as you say, up front that, look, I don't know exactly what's going to happen here. Something may come through, something may not come through. Something may sound completely ridiculous. Something may feel accurate and turn out later not to be accurate in your estimation. It doesn't matter right now. I am doing this to gain more sensitivity and more awareness of how to connect to the idea of my own higher mind, and I appreciate deeply the opportunity to do so by you asking questions. You're giving me a chance to perform and practice, and that's all that's necessary right now to understand. And with that out of the way, then you can feel free to bring through whatever comes through, as long as you understand that you're doing it for the purpose of being of best service to those who are asking the question. And that's all there is to it. That's your intent.
See. Now, this person's experience was that they experienced a channeling event at their grandmother's funeral, which was a life-changing experience for the person and their family.
Yes.
Before the channeling happened, they sensed a strong power or energy that came to them. Then their body started vibrating, they felt muscle cramps, and then 1 month later, they found your teachings and they experienced the same sensations again, those strong energy flow, the muscle cramps, when they listened to your information. Can you help him or her understand how to interpret this energy?
Well, in a sense, you were given a preview of the kind of energy that connects you more strongly to your higher mind, to spirit, by being open to that kind of energy at a funeral. It's not dissimilar to the kind of energy you experience by connecting to the higher mind and spirit. So you were, in a sense, allowed a preview of the kind of vibrational information that can come to you by being willing to be open to receiving that information. At first, your body may not be used to the frequency, and you may experience the idea of those bodily neurological spasms, but you'll get used to it in time. So just be open to it, and anytime you think back to the idea of being in the state you were in at the funeral, whether you feel exactly the same or not, just know you are open into that state, and go forward with your imagination and apply that energy in whatever way, shape, or form creatively you wish to by acting on your passion in life, and synchronicity will do the rest.
Thank you. Do you know if cannabis or psychedelics was or currently is being used by extraterrestrials as a communication tool? Can it be used as a way to link into the consciousness and awareness of another person? This person says they often feel it could make awareness of other beings more present, but it also felt like it was somewhere in the future, that its components could be used to enhance telepathy and communication through a feeling of energy rather than using speech.
Yes. As we have already said, with regard to the idea of the future hybrids, including Willa Hillichrising, going through the different stages of mastery, a substance, a teacher called divinorum, is often used to make interdimensional linkages And so different extraterrestrial beings at different times and different civilizations use the teachers of their own planet that grow naturally to aid and assist them in this endeavor.
So, and on that idea, sometimes we have large gatherings that are called rock concerts or music concerts,
Yes.
where there can be large numbers of people, like 50,000 people,
Yes.
all getting into a very excited, happy state, dancing, singing, all
Yes.
of that. And for some people, that seems to open up the doorways for some form of ET contact.
Of course, this is ancient shamanism. That's all this is. Remember, drumming circles, dancing circles, vibrations, frequencies, resonance. It's all about that. It doesn't matter how you accomplish it as long as there is unity and harmony in the frequencies with the intent going in a similar direction. We are aware that just recently it has been recorded that at a certain concert from the individual you know as Taylor Swift, individuals were vibrating in harmony to such an extent that it was actually recorded as a 2.2 earthquake.
That's exciting.
There are powers in harmonies. There are powers in resonances. It doesn't matter how you achieve this.
I know there was one rock musician who was very fascinated by these ideas, and he suggested that certain arenas like the Superdome, they look like spaceships, and that
Yes.
there somehow might be a way for an entire group of people to levitate such a thing. Is that realistic, or is that real? Or
Yes, it is potentially true. It depends upon the intent and the focus of the individuals. But there is enough power to do that.
so if you had 50,000 people in that.
And in any event, in many cases, you will find that portals are being opened with those resonances.
So is it similar to a galactic gathering when these kinds of events occur, where there's so many people in such an ecstatic state?
Smaller scale, but yes, similar in principle.
So they aren't necessarily conversing as much as they are celebrating together? Would that be?
What's the difference?
Well, it seems like there's a frequency difference between just regular communication and celebration.
You can generalize the vibration into what you would perceive as a celebration, but there is always communication. Joy spreads outward. Joy ripples outward to infinity, always. And that is a message.
The channel once mentioned the idea that if you had 50,000 people in that kind of a state and they all focused on levitation, is that the idea that they could literally all levitate together? Or
it's possible, although again, you have to take into account whatever belief systems are in the collective. It might be easier for all of them to imagine that they could each levitate an object rather than themselves. So you may start slow and simple, but you will be able to see demonstrations of this if the intentional focus is harmonized in that way.
it's a very exciting possibility to utilize those kinds of circumstances. I suppose it's like that at a football game too, where people are so excited, but it's a little different because the energy is competitive, I suppose.
In the future, we perceive that gatherings at such stadiums will be primarily for the kind of purposes we are talking about right now.
That's really exciting. Is there a limit to the human population that planet Earth can sustain?
Well, of course, it depends on how you allocate your resources. The way you are allocating your resources now, you have exceeded the limit. that is capable of surviving and thriving. However, were you to reallocate resources, eliminate certain political, social, religious limitations, and allow equalization to occur in certain ways, you could find that the Earth could sustain 10 to 12 billion individuals quite comfortably, but major changes would be required.
Okay. Oh, this is one question. There's some proximity in spelling and pronunciation of Anasazi, Native American people, and Anunnaki. Can you tell us if there's any connection between those?
There is some. We will not go into detail, but there is also a connection between Anasazi, Anunnaki, and Essassani.
Yes. Okay. All right. So moving on to some current events. Are ETs able to listen in to the current UFO/UAP hearings that we are having here in the US?
Yes.
Do they feel the same happiness and anticipation that we humans feel who believe that aliens are real?
We understand that bit by bit, this is progressing toward the idea of everyone already understanding that we exist.
And in this meeting that was broadcast, the government admitted that they recovered extraterrestrial bodies from crashed UAPs and nobody even batted an eye. Are we at a comfort level now about the idea of ETs as a nation or planet?
First of all, an individual from a particular program within the government released this information. There are those who simply do not believe the information and therefore are appearing to be comfortable with it, but are still in denial about it. There are those that are more comfortable with it. Yes, the indications of lack of reaction in certain ways can be an indication that you are closer to open contact. All of this is preparation. All of this is about the idea of disclosure, and all of it is preparation for the idea of the high probability of open contact at the end of 26 or the beginning of 27.
Okay, and you've mentioned that Skinwalker Ranch in Utah is a possible location for first open contact.
Yes.
In regards to their research there, can you tell us the origin and or purpose of the 1.6 gigahertz signal that the scientists there frequently encounter?
Yes. This is a communication signal that is also of the correct frequency to open portals. In one particular episode of that particular program, as they broadcast that signal out, they received an echo reflection, which they could not understand where it was coming from. But that is the signal that the portal is open. So when you broadcast it and receive the reflectional echo, you know that you have opened the portal. That's the significance of it and why that particular frequency is used for space communication as well. It is in alignment with the idea of communication into higher dimensional realms. So, intuitively, your scientists have figured this out, whether they understand it completely or not. But in the demonstration they gave where they broadcast that signal and got the echo reflection from seemingly everywhere and nowhere, that was an indication that they had actually opened the portal. Had someone been in a position to actually walk through the portal at that moment, they would have vanished.
Interesting. We're expecting record heat waves this summer. If the Earth gets too hot, will ETs be used to block, will they use UFOs to block the sun to help keep it cool? Or
No.
do
No. Climate change is a natural event that you have accelerated with your technology and pollution. This is your choice. You will have to shift to a different Earth where these things may be mitigated. The idea, of course, is that these things go in cycles. And the warming of your oceans, as you're experiencing it now, can actually, paradoxically, bring about a cooling cycle that can begin a different ice age.
So that whole idea that there's some people on the planet who want steps taken to prevent more global warming, while there's others who are opposed to it. Why do we have these kinds of, I guess, issues on our planet?
Because Earth is where all the stories are being told, positive and negative, and the splitting prism will divide into the different versions of Earth that will allow people to continue to experience the consequences of the choices they are making for their own reasons in playing out these stories positively or negatively. Earth, in that sense, is the dividing line, is the dividing space, is the college of many choices. You'll experience the consequence of the choices and the classes you have agreed to take.
Interesting. And would your ships be able to put out wildfires? Or I know you're saying they won't intervene at all, but are the ships capable of doing something like that?
Yes, by surrounding the fire with a force field that cuts off all the oxygen. The fire would then simply extinguish.
And lastly, one person was thinking that spiritual information is illegal. Is this your understanding? Because they're concerned about this kind of information, that somehow it's not okay.
If such is illegal in certain portions of your planet, then we would simply suggest that if a person desires to interact with spiritual information, that they act on their passion to either change the legality in their locale, or they simply move to a place where the idea of spiritual information is not illegal. Simple solutions are available on your planet. But there's no such thing really as the idea of spiritual information being inaccessible to anyone. You can keep it private if you wish. It doesn't have to be displayed publicly. Nevertheless, if certain cultures on your planet deem it to be illegal to contact spirit, then do something about it, or move to where you don't have to do anything about it.
And that pretty much wraps up our questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to share in the few moments that we have remaining?
We will give you what is coming up next, for the next transmission will be all about parallel realities and you. We will describe exactly how your connections to different parallel realities inform and guide the life and the themes you are exploring in this particular time stream. So be prepared to allow your mind to expand interdimensionally by focusing in on the ideas we will share in Parallel Realities and You in our upcoming transmission. Aside from that, allow yourselves to continue with this transmission by becoming relaxed and receive our unconditional love in the sharing that you are about to experience.
Thank you, Bashar.
Allow yourselves to begin to relax. Let go of the concerns of the day. Allow yourselves to begin to just breathe deeply, gently, softly. Allow yourselves to begin to float freely in a dreamlike way, feeling yourself floating on currents of energy, relaxed, calm, at peace, in love. Just feeling your way down the stream to reflect to you all the myriad ways in which you are able to express yourself within the reality you have chosen to experience. And as you begin to allow the vibrations in and allow your frequency to shift bit by bit, bit by bit by bit. Allow yourself to continue to breathe easily and deeply into a state of soft relaxation, ease, effortlessness, gentleness, floating along the currents that are the path of least resistance, knowing you will, in perfect timing, wind up exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there, with whom you need to be, how you need to be, being who you are, in a single moment of time and a single point of space, floating freely in the void along the electromagnetic currents of light that radiate from the source of existence itself, ripples spreading out, traveling infinitely in all directions and all dimensions. And as you allow yourself to continue to breathe, now take your hands and hold them up and cup them open and be willing to receive the gifts and the blessings of the higher mind, for they will fill you up. And allow yourself then to take your hands that contain this liquid light of the higher mind and allow yourself to drink deeply from it, feeling refreshed, and allow it to wash over your face, cupping your hands around your face and honoring the physical mind and its ability to perceive and its ability to experience. And allow your hands to continue down and cross them over your heart and feel the vibrations and the energy that emanates, radiating outward, reflecting the radiating ripples of electromagnetic light that issue from source, reflecting back to source. The waves that represent and identify you as a unique reflection of creation, of all that is, of existence itself. And allow your hands then to offer your heart out to the world in the form of your passion, your expression, your love, your creativity, your boldness, your artistry, your song, your life. And as it spreads out before you and calls forth the manifestations of physical reality so that your mind may perceive the reflection in the terms it can understand and comprehend. And you give thanks and appreciation and gratitude for the opportunities, blessings, gifts, challenges, doorways through which you can walk, through which you can cross to higher levels of being. And you let go of all the insistence, knowing that surrender is not giving up control, but is surrendering to the control that is already built into your existence, so that there is no insistence and no assumption as you give it back up to the higher mind to allow synchronicity to guide you in life. so that you may experience mindfulness in all that you do, so that you may experience appreciation in all that you do, so that you may experience gratitude in all that you do, so that you may experience allowance in all that you do, so that it may all work together in combination, in harmony, in synchronicity, so that you may rise up, raise your frequency, feel the vibrations of existence as they not only pass through you, but form you. Form you out of the raw liquid light. Liquid living light is what you are, expressing itself in trinities in a variety of ways to create the foundation and structure of your experience, your dream of physical beingness. And again, allow the flow to continue from the higher mind. Receive in cupped hands, drink of the refreshing liquid light. Appreciate the perception and experience of the physical mind. Cradle and nurture the vibrations of your heart so that it may express itself in your passion and joy. And allow for clarity of perception in your adventure and your journey in life, so that it may raise up your experiences and expand your passion, and allow your higher mind to bring you what you need without resistance and insistence. And allow the cycle to go through you again and again and again. Always uplifting, always amplifying, always magnifying, always guiding, always aligning, always synchronizing and harmonizing in beautiful song, in beautiful creative artistic expression, in perfect alignment and being and knowing and living and loving as living light, expressing itself in beauty, in understanding, in perception, in harmony. Feel the vibrations. Just let them flow through you. Let them spiral through your core and expand outward and inward simultaneously, so that you are at the center of your life, the center of your being, the center of your existence. Journey with us through space and time, through parallel realities, through different dimensions of experience. Journey with us through the infinite void that is full of all that is, expressing itself in all the ways that it can. An infinite array of reflective mirrors showing you every different angle of your being. Journey with us now within our ship that is our higher mind. Journey with us. Through the stars, traveling, yet remaining moving, yet at peace, opening, expressing, flowering, unfolding, dimension after dimension, like an unfolding box, constantly filled with new directions, new surprises, filled with the unexpected. Open up to the mystery of your being, the mystery of existence. Journey with us, inward and outward, infinitely. Breathe deeply, gently. Guide yourself by your breath. Guide yourself by your sight. Guide yourself by your passion. You are supported unconditionally. Unconditionally. Be who and what you prefer to be. Be yourself. Glide along the path of least resistance, the path that is you. Breathe and journey with us through the infinite cosmos. Moving, yet never moving. For you do not move through things, they move through you. And you stand in awe of the beauty of existence, the beauty of the stars, the brilliant and riotous colors of space and other realities, and the voices that come, the voices that whisper, the voices that remind you of your true self, the voices that welcome you home, the voices that are your voices, the voices of the infinite, the voices of all that is. Feel them in your heart. Feel them in your mind. Feel them in your higher self. Invite them in. Blend them in. Allow them in. To serve you, to love you, to support you, to guide you. Join us on this journey with a triad mind in harmony. You are more than you are aware of. Awaken, awaken, awaken to your true selves. Feel the pulsing energy rippling and radiating from you, surrounding you in a bubble, a reality of you, a universe of you. All that is, all that is, all that is. Continue to breathe easily, gently, softly. Let it sink in. Let yourself drift along the currents in a dreamlike way and remain in the void, just breathing, just being. Just feeling, just knowing. Softly, softly. Allow yourselves to continue to breathe. Be refreshed, be renewed, be at peace.